Millionaire sees black cleaning lady asleep on the floor and finds love in the most unexpected way. Subscribe and tell us where you're watching us from. The 74th floor of Clark Tech's big building in Manhattan felt very different at night. During the day, it was busy with important people talking and working on new ideas. But at 11:45 p.m., when only a few dim lights were on, it was quiet, almost peaceful. Neve Vargas walked through the empty hallways, pushing her cleaning cart. Her feet hurt from working so hard, but she couldn't stop yet. This was the last floor she needed to clean. Then she could go home to her kids. Her nice-smelling perfume was gone, and now she only smelled the strong cleaning liquids she used. Some of her curly hair had escaped from her bun, making little loops around her face. Just 3 more offices, she whispered to herself. Talking to herself helped her stay awake. She was so tired. She had been awake since 5 a.m., working at the diner, then picking up her kids from school, and now cleaning this big office building. It was the same routine every day. She entered the next office, which was much bigger than the others. The huge windows showed all of New York City, glowing with lights. For a moment, she admired the view. The city looked magical from up here. But she knew that down there, in her tiny apartment, reality was hard. Bills to pay, kids to take care of, and never enough time. As she cleaned, she thought about her father. He would have loved this place. He was really smart and good with computers. When she was little, he taught her how to code. But then, after he had his accident, everything changed. He had promised to help her become an engineer like him. But now, at 28 years old, that dream felt far away. Neve's eyes went to the soft leather couch in the office. She was so tired. Maybe she could sit for just 1 minute, just a quick rest. The couch was really comfortable. The city lights were so pretty. Her eyes closed for just a moment. Then, I believe this isn't part of the cleaning job. Neve's eyes flew open. Her heart pounded. Standing in front of her was Adrian Clark, the big boss, the CEO of Clark Tech. She had seen his pictures in company emails, but in real life, he was even scarier. He was tall, dressed in a fancy suit, and smelled really nice. His blue eyes looked at her like he was trying to figure her out. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Clark." Neve jumped up, smoothing her uniform with shaky hands. "I didn't mean to. I was just..." Was this it? Was she about to lose her job? How would she feed her kids? How would she pay rent? Her heart pounded. Adrian's face changed just a little. Then he asked, "What's your name?" "Neve Vargas, sir." She forced herself to look at him, ready for whatever happened next. He picked up a tablet from his desk and scrolled through it. "You've worked here for 8 months. Night shifts only. Perfect attendance." He looked at her. "You have 2 jobs, I assume?" Neve nodded. "Yes, sir. I work at a diner in the mornings." "And you have children?" His question surprised her. "Yes, a boy and a girl. They're 6 and 4. For a second, something passed over his face. Understanding? But then it was gone. He turned to look out the window. "Do you know what we do here at Clark Tech, Miss Vargas?" "You make software and new technology, sir." He turned back to her, his eyes sharp. "We solve problems. We look for people with hidden talent." Then he asked a question that hit Neve deep inside. "If you weren't cleaning offices at night, what would you want to do?" Maybe it was because she was so tired, or maybe because the whole night felt like a dream. But she answered honestly, "I'd work with computers, programming, like my dad did." She swallowed hard. "He was an engineer." Adrian raised an eyebrow. "Was? He passed away when I was 12. The room was silent for a moment. Then Adrian pressed a button on his desk. "Come to my office," he said. Neve's stomach dropped. Was he calling security? Was she about to be kicked out? A man in a navy blue suit walked in. He looked between Neve and Adrian, curious. "Lucas," Adrian said, "and I want you to start a training program. Full stack development, the basics. Miss Vargas will be joining the tech department as a trainee." Neve's mind spun. She couldn't have heard that right. "I? What?" You'll be paid during training, of course, Adrian said like this was completely normal. Standard salary. Your schedule can fit around your kids' school hours. Lucas, still looking calm, started taking notes. When should she start? Tomorrow, Adrian said. Then he looked at Neve. Unless that's a problem. This was crazy. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. Billionaire CEOs didn't just give cleaning staff new jobs. There had to be a catch, but she heard herself say, "No problem at all." Good, Adrian nodded. You can finish your shift tonight, but starting tomorrow, you're in the tech department. Then, just like that, he went back to work. Neve stood frozen. Was this real? But when Lucas moved her to follow him, she realized it was. Her hands shook as she picked up her supplies. Before leaving, she turned back. Mr. Clark? He looked up. Why? For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Everyone deserves a chance, Miss Vargas, even if they find it at midnight. As Neve left the office, she felt like she was floating. The city lights outside looked different now, like they weren't mocking her, like they were giving her hope. What she didn't see was Adrian watching her go. He had been watching her for weeks. He saw how she always stopped Eleanor at the computer screens. He noticed her reading coding books on her breaks. He recognized that same hunger to succeed, the same hunger he had once felt. And though he wouldn't admit it, something about her had touched his heart in a way he hadn't expected. He thought she had been gone a long time. The sun was rising over Brooklyn, painting the sky in gold and pink. Elena stood in front of her bedroom mirror, looking at herself. She wasn't wearing her usual cleaning uniform. Instead, she wore black pants, a cream-colored blouse, and the only nice pair of flats she had. Her fingers shook a little as she adjusted her gold hoop earrings and smoothed down her curly hair, which she had left loose today after thinking about it for hours. Girl, you look like you're about to face something scary, not start your dream job. Maya's voice came from the door. Her older sister leaned against the frame, dressed in her usual cool style, ripped jeans, a leather jacket, and combat boots. Maybe this is a mistake, Elena whispered, pulling at her blouse. I don't know anything about working in tech. I haven't written any code since Dad. Stop. Maya walked over quickly and grabbed her sister's shoulders. You are not quitting, but first tell me again what happened last night because I still can't believe it. Elena sighed and sat on the edge of her bed. I told you. I fell asleep in his office. He caught me, and instead of firing me, he gave me this chance. Maya's eyes narrowed. And you don't find that strange? Rich white men don't just give people chances for no reason, especially not single moms who work as cleaners. What's his reason? Not everyone has a reason, Maya. Everyone has a reason, Maya said, especially billionaire CEOs. Before Elena could say anything, loud footsteps ran down the hall. Her kids ran into the room, Sophie in her purple rocket pajamas and Ethan in his superhero shirt. Mommy, are you really not going to the diner today? Sophie asked, jumping into Elena's arms. That's right, baby. Mommy's starting a new job. Remember how I used to help you with computer games? Now I'm going to learn how to make them. Cool. Ethan's eyes lit up. Can you make me a dragon game? Maybe one day. Elena hugged them both, breathing in their familiar scent. But first, we need to get you ready for school. Aunt Maya is taking you today. After a busy morning of breakfast, backpacks, and kisses goodbye, Elena found herself standing in front of Clark Tech's huge glass building. It looked different in the daylight, bigger and scarier. Taking a deep breath, she walked through the doors. The security guard looked surprised when she showed her new ID badge. She knew him from her night shifts, but he said nothing. He just pointed her to the executive elevators. The same elevators she used to clean were now taking her to a new future. On the 68th floor, Lucas Carter was waiting for her. In the daylight, he looked friendly but still professional in his navy suit. Ready for your first day? He asked, leading her through a maze of offices. As ready as I'll ever be, Elena said, trying to ignore the curious looks from people around her. Lucas stopped at a desk with two big computer screens. This is your workspace. Today, we'll start with the basics, getting you used to our systems and introducing you to the team. A young woman walked up to them, her high heels clicking on the floor. Lucas, is this our new trainee? She hesitated before saying trainee, and Elena could tell she didn't believe she belonged there. Yes, Vanessa, this is Elena Vargas. She's joining the development team. Lucas's voice was polite but firm. Elena, this is Vanessa Rhodes, one of our senior developers. Vanessa smiled, but it wasn't a real smile. How interesting. I didn't know we were hiring for beginners, especially ones without the usual training. Miss Vargas has great potential, and a deep voice interrupted. Adrian Clark walked over, his suit perfect, his presence strong. I trust you'll make her feel welcome, he said. The room felt different after that. Vanessa's smile became more real, but her eyes were still calculating. Of course, Mr. Clark. Welcome to the team, Elena. As Vanessa walked away, Elena heard whispers around her. A cleaner? Special treatment? Clark's new project? Adrian didn't seem to notice. How are you settling in, Miss Vargas? It's different, she admitted. Something flickered in his blue eyes. Amusement? I imagine so. He handed her a business card and wrote something on the back. My direct line. Don't hesitate to use it. As he walked away, Elena looked at the card. His personal number was on it. It felt professional, but also personal. The morning was full of introductions and lessons. Lucas was patient, showing her how the company's systems worked. By lunchtime, Elena's head was spinning with new information. Her phone buzzed. A text from Maya, lunch. We need to talk. 20 minutes later, they sat in a small deli. Maya took one look at Elena's face and said, Spill. Elena told her everything. The whispers, the looks, Vanessa's attitude, and Adrian's business card. Maya frowned. I don't like this. It feels like a setup. What if he's just doing this to look good? Generous CEO gives cleaning lady a job? It's a perfect story. You don't know him. Maya sighed. Elena, neither do you. Look, I know you want this. You deserve it. But promise me you'll be careful. Men like Adrian Clark live in a different world, and when our world and their world collide, it's usually our world that gets hurt. Back at the office, Elena tried to focus, but Maya's words stayed with her. She was so lost in thought that she didn't see Adrian watching her from his office, his face unreadable. Later, she overheard Vanessa talking. It's probably just guilt. He saw a struggling single mom and had a weak moment. It won't last. The words hurt, but they also pushed Elena to work harder. She focused on her coding exercises with new energy. She would prove them all wrong. At the end of the day, Lucas checked her work and whistled. You did double the exercises I assigned. Impressive. Really? Elena asked, unsure. Yes. I've trained a lot of new developers, and you have a natural talent. No matter how you got here, you deserve to be here. As she packed up, she noticed Adrian still in his office, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. He looked up and met her eyes through the glass. For a moment, they just stared at each other. On the subway ride home, Elena's mind raced. She had been scared of not being good enough. Now she was scared of being too good, of drawing too much attention, of wanting too much. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You did well today. TC. She stared at the message, her heart pounding. 3 simple words, but they felt like so much more. She saved the number, but didn't reply. She didn't know what to do when her big boss, the billionaire CEO, texted her after work. When she finally got home, her kids were already asleep. Maya had left dinner in the oven and a note on the counter. Still worried, still love you, still think you're crazy. Jane Eve smiled and touched the note. Maybe she was crazy. Maybe everything would fall apart tomorrow. But right now, she had a chance at the life she always dreamed of. And she was going to take it no matter what happened next. What she didn't know was that across town, Adrian Clark sat in his big office staring at his phone. Had he made a mistake texting her? He told himself it was just work. He was helping a smart new employee. But Deep down, he knew it was more than that. He opened his laptop and watched a security video of her first day at work. She was different. She didn't act like everyone else in his world. That's what made him notice her. "What are you doing, Adrian?" he whispered to himself and shut his laptop. But he already knew the answer. He was breaking his own rules. And the strangest part? He didn't want to stop. 3 weeks into her new job at Clark Tech, Neve was working late. Everyone else had gone home. The office was quiet, and she was focused on fixing a tricky problem in the computer code. "You know you don't work the night shift, right?" The voice made her jump. She turned to see Adrian standing in the doorway. His tie was loose, and his shirt sleeves were rolled up. He smelled nice, like his fancy cologne. "I just wanted to finish this," she said. "Lucas told me my code has to be perfect before I can join the big project." Adrian walked closer, leaning over her shoulder to look at her screen. She felt a little nervous. "May I?" he asked, reaching for her mouse. She nodded, her heart beating fast. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, fixing small things in her code. "There," he said. "Sometimes the simplest answer is the best one." Their eyes met in the reflection of the dark computer screen. For a moment, neither of them moved. "Thank you," she said, breaking the moment. "I should go home. My kids." "I'll give you a ride," Adrian said. "It's late." Her mind told her to say no, but the subway ride home would be long and tiring. "Okay," she heard herself say. In the car, the ride was quiet. Adrian drove smoothly through the city. Neve glanced at him. His face looked serious, his hands tight on the steering wheel. "Why are you helping me?" she asked before she could stop herself. Adrian didn't answer right away. Then he said, "Because you remind me of someone who never got the chance they deserved." Before she could ask more, they reached her neighborhood. His sleek car stood out against the simple houses. "Thanks for the ride," she said, opening the door. "Neve?" His voice stopped her. It was the first time he'd said her name. "You're doing great," he told her. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." The next morning at work, Neve walked to her desk and saw people whispering. Vanessa, another worker, gave her a sweet but mean smile. "Late night with the boss?" Vanessa said. Neve stood tall. "I was working." "Of course," Vanessa said. "Just be careful. Mixing work and other things never ends well, especially for people like us." "People like us?" Neve knew what she meant. Before she could answer, Lucas came over. "Morning meeting in 5. Neve, bring your work." In the meeting, Lucas showed Neve's work on the big screen. "She did great," he said. "She found a problem in our system that no one else saw." People murmured in surprise. "That's impossible," Vanessa said. "Our team checked that code before." "See for yourself," Lucas said, pointing at the screen. Adrian studied the code. His face didn't show what he was thinking. "Good work, Miss Vargas," he finally said. "You're on the main project team now." "But she hasn't finished her training," Vanessa protested. "Results matter more than rules," Adrian said firmly. "Lucas, get her set up." Neve's phone buzzed. A text from Maya. 911. "Call me now." Neve found a quiet corner and called her sister. "Have you seen the news?" Maya asked. "Someone took pictures of you getting into Adrian's car last night. They're calling you his midnight mystery woman." Neve's stomach dropped. She opened her phone and saw the headline, "Clark Tech CEO's late night ride with employee." "This is bad," Maya said. "Really bad." "It was just a ride home," Neve whispered. "You need to stay away from him." Before Neve could reply, Lucas appeared. "Neve, Mr. Clark wants to see you. Now." Her heart pounded as she walked into Adrian's office. He stood at the window. "Close the door," he said. She did. "I had PR write a statement," he said. "It explains that I was just helping an employee." "Is that what this is?" she asked softly. Adrian's eyes met hers. He took a step toward her, then stopped. "What do you want it to be?" Neve thought about her kids, her dreams, everything she had worked for. "I want to succeed because of my hard work," she said, "not because of rumors." Adrian's face changed just for a second, then his serious look returned. "Then that's what the statement will say." That night, Neve sat on her small balcony looking at the city skyline. Her phone buzzed. A message from Adrian. I'm sorry about today. This isn't what I wanted for you. She started to type, then erased her words. Finally, she wrote, What did you want? His reply came quickly. More than I should. Neve stared at the message. Those words were dangerous. They could change everything or ruin everything. Across the city, in his penthouse, Adrian stood by his window, looking toward Brooklyn. His father's voice echoed in his mind. Clark, men don't mix work with feelings. But he had already crossed the line, and for the first time, he didn't want to step back. What neither of them knew was that Vanessa was still in the office, typing an email to the company board. Subject: concerns about recent hiring choices. The chess game was getting harder, and Adrian and Neve had no idea how tricky things were about to get. The morning sun had not yet touched the tall buildings of Manhattan when Adrian Clark got an email from the board. His jaw tightened as he read it. They were questioning his recent hiring choices and if they met company standards. But the real problem was the report attached to the email. It made him furious. Someone had created a detailed report that suggested Neve's work was being changed after hours. It made it look like she wasn't doing her own work. Adrian had a good idea who was behind this. His phone buzzed. Lucas, tell me you saw this, Adrian said. His friend sounded serious. I'm looking at it now. Adrian clenched his fist. Get me everything. Access logs, code changes, timestamps, all of it. Already working on it. But Adrian, the board called an emergency meeting this afternoon. They want Neve there. Adrian leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. Who else knows? Only senior management for now, but you know how this place is. By lunchtime, everyone will know. A noise outside his office interrupted the call. Through the glass walls, Adrian saw Neve walking toward his office, looking angry. His assistant tried to stop her, but she pushed through the door. Did you do it? Her voice shook with emotion. Did you change my work? Adrian took a deep breath. Miss Vargas, don't. She slapped the report onto his desk. I trusted you. I defended you when people said this was just a PR stunt, and now I find out you've been fixing my work behind my back? Adrian stood up. That's not what happened. Then what did happen? Her gold hoop earrings shone in the morning light as she glared at him. Because right now, it looks like everyone was right about me. A poor little charity case getting ahead because the boss wants to be a hero. Sit down. His voice was firm. I'd rather not. Something in his tone made her stop and take a seat. Adrian walked around his desk and leaned against it, close but not too close. I have never changed your work, he said, looking into her eyes. Yes, I've reviewed it. Yes, I've left comments, but every solution, every idea, that was all you. Then why is this happening? Because someone wants to make you look bad, he said, handing her his tablet, and they're using our connection to do it. Neve's eyes widened as she read the email. The board meeting is in 4 hours. Adrian's expression was hard. We need to be ready. He pressed a button on his phone. Lucas, my office. Now. Neve pulled up her project files while Lucas set up his laptop. I've got the logs, Lucas announced, and you won't believe what I found. For 3 hours, they worked together. Lucas's logs showed that someone had indeed accessed Neve's work after hours, but it wasn't Adrian. The timestamps match Vanessa's security badge, Lucas explained. She's been trying to add small errors to your work, but our system kept catching them. Neve gasped. She was trying to make me look bad. She always said she was working late, but she was actually ruining my work. And now she's trying to blame us, Adrian said coldly. A knock at the door interrupted them. Adrian's assistant peeked in. Mr. Clark, the board is ready. The boardroom was on the top floor. 12 men and women sat around a huge table, their faces serious. Vanessa was already there, looking confident in her fancy suit. Mr. Clark, said Douglas Gregory, like the chairman, We are here to discuss concerns about recent hiring decisions and the company's reputation. Of course, Adrian said smoothly, sitting down next to Neve and Lucas. Gregory nodded at Vanessa, who pulled up a presentation. As you can see, she said, Neve's work is too advanced for someone with her little experience. The evidence suggests her work is being changed after hours. Neve felt their judging eyes on her. But then, under the table, she felt Adrian's hand briefly touch hers. It was quick, but it gave her strength. Interesting, Lucas said, but incomplete. He connected his laptop to the big screen. Here are the real access logs for the last 3 weeks. Look at the timestamps. The room went silent as he showed the proof. Every attempt to change Neve's work pointed to Vanessa. This is crazy, Vanessa said, but she looked nervous. You were testing security? Lucas raised an eyebrow. Without permission, late at night, on a junior developer's work? Neve stood up. If I may. She walked to the screen and explained her work. She spoke with confidence, proving she knew exactly what she was doing. Even the most doubtful board members listened. When she finished, the room was silent. Miss Rez, do you have anything to add? Gregory asked Vanessa. Vanessa looked pale. I was just trying to protect the company. By lying to the board? Adrian's voice was ice cold. Lucas, please escort Miss Rez to HR. She has paperwork to sign. As Vanessa walked out, her heels clicking angrily, Gregory turned to Neve. Miss Vargas, we owe you an apology. Your work is impressive. Thank you, she said simply. But another board member spoke up. Mr. Clark, people have noticed your interest in Miss Vargas. Adrian stood and buttoned his jacket. My interest is in helping talented people. Miss Vargas has proven herself. Unless there are concerns about her actual performance, no one said a word. That evening, Neve stood in Adrian's office. The city lights were bright outside. Thank you for believing in me, she said softly. I never doubted you. He stepped closer. But they were right about one thing. My interest in you isn't just professional. Her heart skipped a beat. I know it would be easier if it was. Since when do I take the easy path? He said with a low laugh. Before she could reply, her phone buzzed. A reminder. She had to pick up her kids. Reality crashed in. I should go, she said. Adrian nodded, his professional mask back in place. But as she reached the door, he said, Neve. She turned. You were magnificent today. Those words stayed with her all night. Across the city, Adrian stood in his penthouse sipping whiskey. On his desk, an email from the board glowed. They wanted him to be careful about professional boundaries. He took another sip, remembering the fire in Neve's eyes, the touch of her hand, the way she looked at him. Professional boundaries were already broken. Company rules didn't matter anymore. The only question was, what would it cost them? The morning after the big meeting, Elena arrived at Clark Tech and noticed something strange. Before, her coworkers had whispered behind her back and given her funny looks, but now they were openly curious about her. Some even seemed to respect her. Everyone had heard how she had caught Vanessa cheating, and now they saw her differently. Elena, who used to be just a cleaning lady, had become someone important. She sat at her desk and tried to ignore the stares. A message popped up on her computer. It was a meeting request from Lucas for the whole team. Before she could think too much about it, a soft voice spoke. Everything okay? Elena looked up and saw Mara Patel, a kind junior developer, standing there with 2 cups of coffee. Just thinking, Elena said, taking the coffee gratefully. Yesterday feels like a dream. Mara smiled and sat on the edge of Elena's desk. The way you showed Vanessa's mistake was amazing, she whispered. But not everyone is happy. Elena glanced around and saw some people still giving her cold looks. Vanessa had friends, she said. Powerful ones. Mara nodded. And they're not just in our department. Before Elena could ask more, Lucas called the team together. As everyone gathered, she noticed Adrian watching from his office. When their eyes met, a shiver ran down her spine. All right, team, Lucas said. After what happened, we're making changes. Alina will lead the security redesign for Project Phoenix. The room went silent. This was a big job, usually given to senior developers. Richard Morton, who had been on Vanessa's side, frowned. Isn't that too soon? She's only been here a month. Lucas didn't hesitate. And in that month, she found and fixed mistakes that our senior team missed. Any other questions? The meeting continued, but Elena barely heard it. Was Adrian giving her this job to prove a point, or was he setting her up to fail? Later that morning, Alina was working when a shadow fell over her desk. She looked up. It was Adrian. "Walk with me," he said quietly. They took the elevator to the rooftop garden where the October wind blew through Elena's curls. "You're wondering why I approved your promotion," Adrian said, looking at the city. "The thought crossed my mind. It wasn't my decision," he admitted. "Lucas recommended it. The team agreed. I didn't object." Elena studied his face. "And the board?" "They want promotions based on merit, not time worked," he said. His jaw tightened. "But they've made their concerns about us very clear." "What concerns?" Elena asked. "You're my boss, that's all." Adrian stepped closer. "Is that all this is, Alina?" Her heart pounded. "It has to be. You know it does." Before he could answer, the rooftop door opened. Lucas was there. "Sorry to interrupt," he said. "Elena, your sister is in the lobby. She says it's urgent." Elena rushed downstairs and found Maya pacing. "What happened?" Elena asked. "Ethan got into a fight at school. We need to go now." Elena's heart sank. Ethan never got into trouble. Before she could move, Lucas handed her bag to her. "Take the rest of the day," he said. "Family comes first." The drive to Ethan's school was tense. "Want to tell me what's really going on?" Maya asked. "What do you mean?" "The promotion, the rooftop meeting, the whispers. It's a lot." "It's not what you think." "Then what is it?" Maya demanded. "Because from where I'm sitting, you're getting too close to a man who could ruin everything." Elena shook her head. "He believes in me." "No," Maya said. "He wants you. That's different." When they got to the school, Ethan was outside the principal's office. His Superman shirt was torn and there was a bruise on his cheek. "Baby, what happened?" Alina asked, kneeling in front of him. Ethan sniffed. "Tommy said you only got your job because you're the boss's girlfriend, that you're not smart enough." Elena felt like she had been punched. "Ethan, what other people say doesn't matter." "But it does matter," he cried. "It's not fair." Elena took a deep breath. "Your father would want you to be better than this." The meeting with the principal was quick. Ethan was suspended for 2 days, but the bully would be punished too. That night, after the kids were asleep, Elena sat on her balcony. Her phone buzzed. A text from Adrian. "Everything okay?" She stared at the message. Then, thinking of Ethan, Maya's warnings, and the rooftop moment, she replied, "No, nothing's okay." His reply came fast. "Tell me." So she did. She told him about Ethan, the rumors, her fears. His next message made her breath stop. "Come to the office, now." It was late. She shouldn't go. But 20 minutes later, she was in the elevator to the top floor. Her heart pounded. Adrian was waiting. His jacket was off, sleeves rolled up. The city lights cast shadows on his face. "This has to stop," Elena said. "The rumors, the gossip. It's hurting my kids." "I know," he said. "That's why I called you. I have a solution." "What kind of solution?" "A transfer," he said. "Same job, but in Seattle. Away from this. Away from me." It felt like a punch. "You want me to leave?" "I want you to succeed," he said softly. "Without shadows, without whispers, without your kids suffering." Anger bubbled inside her. "What about my choices? Don't I get a say?" "Elena," she stepped closer. "I can handle rumors. I can handle doubt. What I can't handle is you making decisions for me." His control cracked. "Do you think I don't see how they treat you? Do you think I don't hate that I'm part of the problem?" "Then stop protecting me and start trusting me," she said. Then he kissed her. Desperate. Hungry. Full of weeks of holding back. When they pulled away, both were breathing hard. "I should go," she whispered. This was a mistake. His voice was hoarse. "A complication." She fixed her blouse. "One we can't afford." He nodded. mask back in place. Think about Seattle. I won't take it, she said, but thanks for caring. As she left, she knew everything had changed, and in his office, Adrian wrote an email to the board regarding recent personnel decisions. He was done playing their games. If they wanted a fight, he'd give them one. But first, he had to protect Elena, even if it meant losing her. The big meeting room felt colder than usual as Adrian Clark stood at the front. His face looked serious, like a statue. It had been 24 hours since he kissed Nevi, and now he had to face the result of an email he sent right after. In that email, he made a big decision that would change the company's rules and take power away from the board members. "This has never been done before," Douglas Gregory said loudly. "You want us to give up our power to decide who gets hired and promoted? I want to make sure our system is fair and modern," Adrian said calmly. Meanwhile, in another part of the building, Nevi was sitting in her new office, trying to focus on her computer work. But she kept thinking about the kiss from last night. Her phone buzzed, another message from Maya, her sister. It was the 10th one since morning. "We need to talk now," the message said. Just then, there was a knock on her door. It was Lucas, her friend. He looked serious. "You need to see this," he said, putting his tablet on her desk. Nevi looked at the screen. It was an article spreading all over the internet. The headline read, "Clark Tech Board members question CEO's leadership after romance rumors." Nevi felt her heart stop. "It gets worse," Lucas said. He scrolled down to show mean comments from board members. They were saying Adrian was making bad choices because of his feelings for Nevi. "This is my fault," Nevi whispered, feeling heavy with guilt. "No," Lucas said firmly. "This is about power. Adrian is trying to change a system that the old board members don't want to lose. They are using you as a way to fight back." Before Nevi could say anything, her phone rang. It was her son Ethan's school. He had gotten into another fight because other kids were saying mean things about her. "Go," Lucas told her. "I'll handle things here." Nevi quickly drove to Brooklyn to get Ethan. When she arrived, she saw not only her son, but also Maya waiting for her. "We're having a family meeting now," Maya said. They went to their favorite diner, the one where Nevi used to work in the mornings. Ethan sat quietly, picking at his fries. Maya looked at her sister with serious eyes. "Tell me everything," she demanded. So Nevi did. She told them about the kiss, about Adrian offering her a transfer, and about how she refused to run away. Maya's face got darker with every word. "Are you out of your mind?" Maya said in a low but angry voice. "This man is not just your boss. He's a billionaire CEO. He has everything to lose. Do you really think this will end well?" "It's not that simple," Nevi protested. Maya leaned closer. "Actually, it is. Look at your son, V. Really look at him." Nevi turned to Ethan. He was sitting with his head down, a bruise on his face. "Baby," Nevi said, touching his hand. "I'm so sorry you have to go through this." "I just want you to be happy, Mom," Ethan said softly, "like when Dad was here." The words hit Nevi's heart like a hammer. Before she could say anything, her phone buzzed again. It was Lucas. "Emergency team meeting. Board making moves. Need you back ASAP." Back at Clark Tech, everything was in chaos. Richard Morton, one of Adrian's enemies, was standing in the project room with several board members. "Ah, Miss Vargas," Gregory said with a fake smile. "Perfect timing. We were just talking about you." "What's wrong?" Nevi asked, though she already felt nervous. "We think it would be better to split your project between New York and Seattle," Morton said, pretending to be nice, "given the distractions." Nevi understood immediately. They wanted her to leave or lose the project. "Where's Adrian?" she whispered to Lucas. "Still in meetings," Lucas said. "They planned this on purpose." Nevi looked around at her team. These were people who trusted her, who worked hard with her. She thought of Ethan, of Maya's warnings, of everything she had to lose. But then she remembered Adrian's words. "We promote based on talent, not time." She stood tall. "Let's go over the project." I'll show you why splitting leadership is a bad idea. For the next hour, she presented her work. She explained everything clearly, proving that her team was doing a great job. Even Gregory seemed a little impressed. Then Adrian walked in. He looked around the room and said in a cold voice, "Mr. Gregory, I believe the board meeting isn't over." "We were just looking at different options," Gregory said smoothly. "Were you?" Adrian's voice was even colder. "Without talking to the CEO or the project director?" Gregory smirked. "Given your personal involvement with Miss Vargas, we thought independent oversight was necessary." The room went silent. Everyone was watching. Adrian walked to the front, his presence commanding attention. "Let me be clear," he said. "Miss Vargas earned her position because of her talent and hard work. If anyone says otherwise, they are insulting her and showing their own weakness." He turned to Gregory. "Your attempt to ruin her career ends now. If you have a problem with me, say it to my face. Stop using good employees to protect your power." "Are you saying we're scared of a former cleaning lady?" Gregory mocked. Adrian's smile was sharp. "No, I'm saying it as a fact." After that, the board members left, and the room filled with whispers. "Well," Lucas said, "that was either very brave or very stupid. Which do you think?" "Both," Nevi said. That night, she went to Adrian's office. He looked tired, sitting at his desk. "You shouldn't have done that," she said softly. "Probably not," he admitted. "Do you regret last night?" "Yes," she said, and no. Everything's complicated now." "It was always complicated," he said, "but only we get to decide what happens next. No one else." He reached to touch her face, but stopped. "I meant everything I said. You earned this, Nevi. All of it." She stepped back. "I need to think about my son, the project, everything." "I know," he said, giving her a sad smile. "Take all the time you need." As she left, her phone buzzed. The news headline made her freeze. Clark Tech Board calls for CEO's resignation over personal scandal. The war had begun, and she was at the center of it. Meanwhile, across town, Vanessa was meeting with a reporter. She had emails, pictures, and a story that would shake Clark Tech to its core. The real trouble hadn't even started yet. By morning, every big tech news website had the same shocking headline: "Big trouble at Clark Tech. CEO's secret romance with ex-janitor could ruin the company." Along with the story, there were pictures of Elena and Adrian, pictures of her going into his office late at night, a moment they shared on the rooftop, a ride home in his fancy Aston Martin car. Every photo was picked carefully to make Elena and Adrian look bad. Elena saw the news while making breakfast for her kids. Her hands started shaking, and her phone slipped from her fingers, hitting the kitchen counter. "Mom?" Her little daughter, Sophie, looked up from her cereal. Her big brown eyes were full of worry. "Are you okay?" Before Elena could answer, her phone started buzzing like crazy. Missed calls from Lucas, messages from Maya, an email from Clark Tech's office telling her to come in right away. Elena took a deep breath. "Sweetie, I need you to get your brother ready. Aunt Maya is coming to take you to school today." Sophie looked down at her cereal. "Is it because of what people are saying about you and Mr. Clark?" she asked quietly. Elena's heart broke. Even her 6-year-old knew about the gossip. "Sometimes grown-ups make things complicated, sweetheart, but I promise everything is going to be okay." The words felt like a lie. Across the city, Adrian stood in his tall office, looking out the window. Rain hit the glass hard while his team ran around trying to fix the mess. The story had been carefully planned. Emails were changed to look bad. Security camera footage was edited. Secret sources told lies, making him look like a bad boss who gave special treatment to an employee he liked. Lucas, his best friend and lawyer, walked in. "The company's board is having an emergency meeting," he said. "They're voting this afternoon on whether to fire you." Adrian clenched his jaw. "And I know who's behind this," Lucas continued. "Vanessa. She thinks she covered her tracks, but she's been planning this since she got fired. She's been collecting fake proof, making friends with reporters." Get the lawyers on this, Adrian ordered. Suddenly, they heard a loud argument outside. Through the glass walls, Adrian saw Elena standing in the rain, fighting with his assistant. Her curly hair was wild, gold earrings shining in the morning light. "Let her in," he said. Elena stormed inside, gripping her phone. "Have you seen the news?" she asked, her voice shaking. "Yes." Adrian waved his hand, telling his team to leave. Only Lucas stayed. "They're making it look like... Elena stopped, her throat tight. "Like you got your job by dating me," Adrian said, his face dark. "I know. It's a trap. They want to ruin us both." "Both of us?" Elena let out a bitter laugh. "You're Adrian Clark. You'll be fine. But me? I'm just the janitor who wanted more. Do you even know what people are saying about me online? What kids at school are saying to my children?" Adrian stepped forward, wanting to comfort her. "Don't." She backed away. "That's what got us here in the first place." Her voice cracked. "I trusted you. I believed in this company. I worked so hard, and now my reputation is ruined. My kids are suffering." "We can fix this," Lucas said. "The real security footage will prove the truth. Your work speaks for itself." "Does it?" Elena looked at him with tired eyes. "Because right now, all people see is a scandal, and my kids are paying the price." Before anyone could say another word, Adrian's phone rang. "The board is meeting now," he said. "They want both of us there." Walking to the meeting room felt like walking to a trap. Employees whispered as Elena and Adrian passed by, avoiding their eyes. Inside, the board members sat at a long table. The air was cold, like winter. Gregory, the head of the board, smiled like a snake. "Mr. Clark, Miss Vargas," he said, "because of recent discoveries, you mean because of a carefully planned attack?" Adrian cut him off, his voice dangerous. "The proof is clear," another board member said. "Secret late-night meetings, special treatment, a very fast promotion." "That proof is fake," Lucas interrupted. He pulled out his own documents. "Here's the full security footage, the real emails, and proof that Vanessa has been trying to get Elena fired for months." Gregory ignored him. "The real problem is what the public thinks." "Stop." Elena's soft voice made the whole room go silent. Everyone turned to her. Her hands were steady, even though her heart raced. "You want the truth?" she said. "Yes, there is something between me and Mr. Clark, but we never did anything wrong until recently. And that has nothing to do with my work. It has nothing to do with how good I am at my job." She walked to the big screen and pulled up her team's latest work. "This is what I've done in 1 month. Security updates your senior developers missed for years. New technology that's already saving Clark Tech millions of dollars. I did that. Not because of Adrian Clark, because of me." Gregory smirked. "Miss Vargas, surely you understand." "No, you understand." Elena's voice grew stronger. "I've spent my whole life being underestimated, being told I don't belong. I watched my father, a brilliant engineer, die without ever getting credit for his work, just because he didn't look successful to people like you." She lifted her chin. "I won't let you do the same to me." Then she turned to Adrian. "But I also won't let my personal life ruin everything I worked for, or hurt my children more than they've already been hurt." Adrian's eyes widened. "Elena, don't." "I'm quitting." The room exploded in shock. Board members whispered. Lucas argued, but Adrian stayed silent, watching her with unreadable eyes. Elena walked out, with her head held high. In the elevator, tears finally rolled down her cheeks. But when the doors opened, she was shocked. Her entire team was waiting for her. "We know the truth," Selena said simply, "and we're leaving with you." "What?" "We quit," another developer explained. "Half of the tech department. Other companies are already offering us jobs." Elena stared at them, overwhelmed. Selena handed her a business card. "Innovation Tech wants to hire you. No drama, no lies, just your talent." Before Elena could reply, a loud alarm rang through the building. Upstairs, Adrian had done something no CEO had ever done before. He told the board he would quit unless they agreed to change the company forever, taking away their power over who got hired and fired. As Elena drove home in the rain, her phone buzzed, a message from Adrian. You were wrong about one thing. Some fights are worth any cost. Elena didn't reply. She hugged her children tightly, wondering if maybe, just maybe, he was right. But neither of them knew that Vanessa wasn't finished yet. The next part of her plan had already started, and it was going to be a huge storm compared to the small problem that had already happened. The real question was, who would still be standing when everything was over? Innovation Tech's office was on the 42nd floor of a tall, shiny building in downtown Manhattan. 2 weeks after quitting her job at Clark Tech, Elena stood by the huge windows watching the golden sunrise over the city. Her new job as director of software development felt like both a win and a loss. Good morning, boss. Selena stood in the doorway holding a tablet. The team is ready for the morning meeting, and you have a call with investors from the West Coast at 10. Almost half of Elena's old team from Clark Tech had left to follow her here. It was big news in the tech world. Innovation Tech's CEO, Victoria Sinclair, was happy to hire Clark Tech's best workers and get the attention it brought. Thanks, Selena. I'll be right there. Elena fixed her new, expensive blazer. She didn't have to wear cheap clothes anymore since her salary had tripled. She ignored the notification on her phone, another missed call from Adrian. She hadn't talked to him since they both quit. The tech news was full of rumors about what he would do next. Some said he was planning to take over Clark Tech. Others believed he was starting a new company. But Elena only knew one thing. The silence between them hurt. The morning meeting went well. Her team was adjusting quickly and wanted to prove themselves. But as she looked over their first big project, she couldn't stop thinking about Project Phoenix, which was now probably forgotten at Clark Tech. Back in her office, she finally checked her voicemail. Adrian's message was short. We need to talk. Please. Before she could think about it, her phone rang again. It was her sister, Maya. Have you seen it? Maya asked right away. Seen what? Check your email, now. With growing fear, Elena opened her inbox. The latest tech news headline made her freeze. Clark Tech scandal grows. Leaked emails show corporate spying. The article claimed that Elena had stolen secret information from Clark Tech before she left. It also accused Innovation Tech of planning everything. Vanessa Grant, her old co-worker, had shared proof, showing records of late-night computer activity and stolen files. It's all lies, Elena whispered. Of course it is. Maya agreed, but lies can still ruin your life. As if on cue, Victoria Sinclair appeared at her office door, looking serious. My office. Now. The next hour was a blur. Lawyers discussed lawsuits and defenses, accusations flew, and through it all, Elena felt like she had been here before, her hard work being questioned, her success stained. We'll fight this, Victoria promised. But I need to know, do you and Adrian have any history that could hurt our case? Before Elena could answer, her phone rang again. It was her son's school. Her heart sank as she walked into the principal's office. Both her children were there. Sophie had red, puffy eyes from crying. Ethan sat still, a new bruise on his jaw. The other kids were sharing the news articles on their phones. The principal explained. Things got heated. The drive home was silent. When they got inside, Ethan finally spoke. Why did you leave Clark Tech, Mom? Really? She struggled to answer. Sometimes doing the right thing means walking away. But you didn't steal anything, right? Sophie asked, her small voice shaking. No, baby, I didn't. Then why don't you tell them? Ethan asked, angrily. Why don't you fight back? Before she could answer, there was a knock on the door. Through the peephole, she saw Lucas. We need to talk, he said. It's about Vanessa. Sitting at the kitchen table, Lucas laid out what he had found. She didn't just leak emails, she made them up. She changed documents and faked information. She was planning this even before you left. Why? Elena asked, confused. She already won. I'm gone. This was never just about you, Lucas said. She wants to destroy Adrian. The board is using these lies to take away his power in the company. If they win, they'll take over Clark Tech. And Adrian, being Adrian, is refusing to fight back. Elena remembered Adrian's words. Some fights are worth any cost. Where is he now? She asked. His penthouse, probably planning his next move, but Lucas hesitated. He's different, withdrawn. The board's vote is tomorrow morning. That night, Elena left her kids with Maya and took the elevator up to Adrian's penthouse. The security guard recognized her and let her in. She found Adrian in his home office, surrounded by legal papers, looking exhausted. "You should have called me back," he said, not looking up. "You should have fought back," she shot back. Now he looked at her, his blue eyes intense. "They're attacking you, not me. They're attacking us both, and you're letting them." "What do you want me to do?" he asked, running a hand through his messy hair. "Release emails about our relationship? Argue about the accusations? That would only hurt you and your children. I want you to help me prove Vanessa faked everything. Not just the new accusations, but the original ones too." He froze. "You want to fight back?" "I want to show my children that running away isn't always the answer, that sometimes you have to stand and fight even when it's hard." Adrian stepped closer, his voice rough. "You could lose your job, your reputation." "I already lost what matters most," she whispered. "My self-respect, my children's trust, you." His eyes softened. "You never lost me. I was trying to protect you. I don't need protection. I need a partner." Adrian sighed. "Lucas has proof of the lies, and I have something else." He went to his safe and took out a small recorder. "The night Vanessa was fired, she came to my office. She threatened me. I recorded everything." "Why didn't you use this before?" Elena asked. "Because I also talked about my feelings for you. I wasn't ready to face that." "And now?" "Now I'm ready to face anything. With you." That night, as they worked to gather evidence, neither of them noticed the storm outside. But across town, Vanessa got an urgent call. The board had moved their vote up. They were meeting at midnight. The final battle for Clark Tech was about to begin. Adrian held the steering wheel tightly. His knuckles turned white. "They know we're onto them," he said. "Vanessa must have warned them." The car screeched to a stop in the Clark Tech parking garage just in time. Adrian and Neve jumped out and rushed to the elevator. As they went up, Neve's phone buzzed. It was a message from Maya. "The kids are safe with me. Go get the truth out." The elevator ride felt so long. Adrian reached for Neve's hand and gave it a squeeze. "Whatever happens up there, don't," he started to say, but Neve cut him off. "We're in this together. No more noble sacrifices." When they reached the top, the boardroom doors were closed, but they could hear angry voices inside. Lucas stood outside, looking relieved to see them. "They're voting to remove Adrian and blame both of you for a crime," he said quickly. "Vanessa is in there now, showing her evidence." Adrian fixed his tie, his eyes sharp. "Then let's crash their party." They pushed open the doors. Vanessa was speaking at the head of the table. She froze when she saw them. "This is a private meeting," Gregory, a board member, said angrily. Adrian's voice filled the room. "A private meeting to steal my company with fake evidence? I don't think so." Vanessa tried to stay calm. "These documents prove the crime," she said, pointing to her files. Neve stepped forward. "You mean these?" She opened her laptop. "The ones that show they were created after I left Clark Tech? The ones with timestamps that don't match the real records?" Lucas connected her laptop to the big screen. "We found proof that these files were changed. The logs were faked." "This is ridiculous," Gregory shouted. Adrian pulled out a small recording device. "Would you like to hear Vanessa in her own words?" The room went silent. Then Vanessa's voice played. "If you fire me, I'll destroy everything. I'll create a scandal so big the board will have no choice but to remove Adrian. I'll make sure they believe Neve stole company secrets. Vanessa lunged for the device, but Lucas stopped her. "There's more," he said. "We found emails between Vanessa and some board members planning this for weeks." Gregory turned red. "This meeting is over." "No, it's not," Adrian said coldly. "You forgot one important thing." He pulled out his phone and called someone. "Miss Sinclair, you're on speaker." Victoria Sinclair's voice filled the room. "Clark Tech Board, I want to thank you. Your attempt to take over the company with fake evidence has given my company, Innovation Tech, all we need to sue you." Gregory turned pale. "What are you talking about?" A new voice spoke from the doorway. It was Jonathan Pierce, a top lawyer. "She's talking about conspiracy and stock fraud. The SEC is already looking into how certain board members made money by betting against Clark Tech right before this fake scandal." The boardroom exploded into chaos. Some board members yelled at Gregory. Some tried to sneak away. Vanessa tried to run, but security stopped her. Neve watched it all. Behind her, Adrian whispered, "It's over." But Neve shook her head. "Not yet." "What about us?" she asked him. "The real reason you didn't fight back earlier?" "I was afraid of losing you," Adrian admitted. "Afraid of causing you and your kids pain." And now, his blue eyes locked onto hers. "Now I'm done being afraid." He turned to the room. "Yes, I have feelings for Neve Vargas. Yes, they started while she worked here. But I never acted on them until after she proved herself. She succeeded because of her talent and honesty, not because of me." Neve felt her heart swell, but this wasn't the time for emotions. There was one more thing to do. She stepped forward. "I didn't come here just to clear my name. I came with an offer." The room grew quiet. "Innovation Tech is ready to merge with Clark Tech to create the biggest tech company on the East Coast, but only if we change the way things work." Adrian nodded. "We demand a new board, one chosen for skill, not connections. A fair system where everyone has a chance." Victoria's voice came through the speaker. "The paperwork is ready. The shareholders will like our deal better." Gregory sat down, defeated. The other board members grabbed their phones, probably calling their brokers. Neve slipped onto the rooftop, breathing in the fresh air. Adrian followed her. "You planned this," he said with admiration. "The merger, the changes. You and Victoria had this ready." "I learned from the best," she smiled. "Sometimes you have to take big risks to change the game." He took her hand. "What happens now?" She looked out at the city lights. "Now we build something new. Together." "Together," he agreed, pulling her close. Far below, the city shined. But in the shadows, Vanessa made one last phone call. "Do it," she hissed. "Release everything." The fight wasn't over yet. The night wasn't over yet, and neither was their fight. The morning sun shined through the windows of Elena's Brooklyn apartment as she helped Ethan with his tie. 6 months had passed since the night that changed everything, and today was a new beginning. "Mom, are you sure about this?" Ethan asked, fidgeting with his collar. The bruises from those tough days were gone, replaced by a quiet confidence that made Elena proud. "Do you mean the big company news, or about Adrian?" she asked. Ethan looked at her in the mirror. "The kids at school still talk." "Let them talk," Sophie said from the doorway, wearing her new purple dress. "Mom and Adrian fought the bad guys and won. It's like a superhero story." Elena smiled, remembering how everything changed. Vanessa, the woman who tried to ruin them, had shared private emails, security footage, and lies to make Adrian look bad. But this time, Elena and Adrian didn't run. They fought back. Adrian spoke the truth about their relationship, proving they had been professional. Victoria and Lucas, their friends, showed evidence that Vanessa was lying. The employees at Clark Tech stood with them because they knew Elena worked hard and was honest. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Maya walked in, looking fancy in a fitted blazer and heels. "The car is here," she said, then paused. "You look like a boss." Elena smoothed her cream-colored silk blouse. "Co-boss," she corrected. "Adrian and I are equals." Maya smiled. Dad would be so proud. The drive to Clark Tech, soon to be called Clark Innovation Technologies, was filled with excitement. Today wasn't just about announcing the merger, it was about changing how the company worked. They planned to give everyone a fair chance, hire people from all backgrounds, and start a tech education program for kids who needed it. When they arrived, Adrian was waiting in the lobby in a sharp charcoal suit. His face lit up when he saw them. Not just Elena, but the kids too. "Ready?" he asked, holding out his hand to Sophie. She giggled and took it. Elena pulled him aside while Maya kept the kids busy. "There's something you should know." She handed him a tablet. The headline read, "Redemption: How Clark Tech's Scandal Led to Revolutionary Change in Corporate America." "The press is finally getting it right," he said. But as he kept reading, his eyes widened at the next article. Breaking news: former Clark Tech executive Vanessa arrested for corporate espionage and fraud. The FBI found proof that she had been selling company secrets for years, Elena explained. Adrian clenched his jaw. "When did you find out?" "This morning. I wanted you to know before the announcement." Adrian pulled her close, not caring who saw. "No," he whispered. "It's just beginning." The big announcement took place in the company's largest conference room, filled with employees, reporters, and industry leaders. Elena sat between her kids as Victoria Sinclair introduced the merger and their vision for the future. When it was Elena's turn to speak, she walked up to the podium with confidence. "6 months ago, I was just a janitor in this building with a dream," she began. "Today, I stand here as proof that talent can come from anywhere." She shared their plans, including a scholarship named after her father. As she spoke, she saw Maya's teary eyes, the pride on her children's faces, and the love in Adrian's gaze. After the ceremony, they gathered in their new office on the top floor. "There's one more thing we need to talk about," Adrian said nervously. He glanced at Ethan and Sophie. "Something I want to ask all of you." Elena's heart raced as he pulled out a small box. "I had a big speech planned," he admitted, "but all I really need to ask is one thing." He opened the box, revealing a beautiful sapphire ring. "Will you build this new life with me? All of you?" Before Elena could speak, Ethan stepped forward. "Do you promise to always do what's right like Mom does?" Adrian nodded seriously. "I promise." "Do you promise to read me bedtime stories?" Sophie asked. "Even the long ones?" "Every night." Finally, Elena found her voice. "Do you promise to remember that I don't need saving, that we're stronger together?" "Always," Adrian said, his blue eyes locked on hers. "Partners in everything." "Then yes," she whispered. "Yes to all of it." The kids cheered as Adrian placed the ring on her finger. Outside, the Manhattan skyline stretched endlessly, full of promise. That night, after a celebration dinner, Elena stood on their new penthouse balcony. Adrian joined her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "Having second thoughts?" he teased. She turned in his arms. "No, for the first time in my life, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." "And where's that?" She smiled. "Beyond the skyline." Inside, Ethan was teaching Sophie how to code while Maya playfully argued with Lucas about wedding plans. Their blended family, their merged lives, filled the air with joy. "We did it," Adrian murmured. "No," Elena corrected, thinking of her father's dream, her children's future, and all the dreamers yet to come. "We just showed them it was possible." The Clark Innovation Technologies Scholarship ceremony buzzed with excitement. Hundreds of tech students filled the company's new auditorium. On stage, Elena Clark adjusted her microphone. "1 year ago, we made a promise," she said. "A promise to open doors for people who had been told they didn't belong. Today, I see that promise fulfilled." In the front row, Ethan and Sophie beamed with pride. Ethan wore a tie he had picked himself, and Sophie had a tablet covered in coding stickers. Adrian stood at the side of the stage, watching his wife with love. Marriage hadn't changed their spark. It made them stronger. They still argued about projects, still challenged each other's ideas, and still made the board nervous with their bold plans. But they did everything together, as equals. Lucas and Maya sat in the audience. their hands intertwined. Their own romance had surprised everyone, but looking at them now, it made perfect sense. As Elena called up each scholarship winner, she thought of her father. His picture hung in the lobby beside the sign for the Michael Vargas Memorial Tech Education Fund. She hoped he would be proud. The company had transformed. Their mentorship program, led by Morera, was now a model for other businesses. The board, now filled with diverse experts, had just approved a huge project to bring coding education to underserved communities. After the ceremony, they gathered in the Sky office. Sophie showed Lucas her latest coding project while Ethan talked about his science fair. "Still no regrets?" Adrian whispered, wrapping his arms around Alina. She leaned against him, placing a hand on her belly. Their newest edition would arrive in 6 months, entering a world already changed by their story. "Only one regret," she teased. "I should have fallen asleep in your office sooner." From the window, they saw the Manhattan skyline. But now, it wasn't a distant dream. It was home. Their journey was only beginning. Thanks for watching. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Check out our other videos too. See you in the next one.